Now we want to do some stuff to them. So we want to start using some cool tools so that we can actually create some decent shapes. The first thing we can do is we can combine and cut objects. So if I go over here and I'm just going to rename this so I know which one's which. This is my cube. This is my cylinder. And this one, double click it, is my sphere. The first thing we can do is move an object. So there is a button for it. If I click the cube and go up to this one, not this one, sorry, right here, where it's got move and copy, and you'll notice all these little arrows come up. The shortcut for this is click the object's body symbol over here, and then press the letter M, M for move, and you get exactly the same thing, but it's much, much faster. Now, if I rotate my view a little bit, I can see arrows to move it in a specific direction. I can see these little circles to rotate it, and the squares are basically your free transform. Drag it however you want. So I'll show you what that looks like. In this case, if I click this arrow, I can move left to right, or in this case, it's in the Y plane. If I click the upper arrow, I can move up and down in the Z plane. If I rotate my view a bit, I can move it in the X plane. The rotation side is exactly the same. This is rotating in the X to Z plane. And I want to set that back. This one is rotating in the same fashion. And then if I rotate my view to the top, I can also rotate it this way along the Z plane. When you're rotating, you notice that as soon as I've clicked the rotation, it's highlighted the degrees again. So if I had a specific angle, if I wanted to go 45, I can just type that in and press enter. I can do exactly the same thing with any of the other objects. So that sphere we talked about, let's move it further up. So click it, press M. I'm going to view that side-on view so I can see where it's sitting. And in this case, I wanted it to move 25 mils up so that it sits on the bottom. Click OK, and it has moved. So that's moving your objects. The next part is to combine them. In order to combine objects, they must be touching. So let's take our sphere and let's try and sit it on top of our cube. So move it across, I'm going to move it up, zoom in a smidge to line that up perfectly, rotate the view, and now we see it's actually not all the way on, so I'm going to move it in this direction as well. Perfect. Now it should be sitting perfectly on top of my cube. Excellent. Now we can combine it. So I can convert this into one object. At the moment, as you see on the left when I hover, it's a sphere and a cube. If instead I want to combine them, I go up to modify, I go down to combine, and now it basically tells you, it's saying select the objects that you want to combine. So I'll click this one, and I'll click this one. And there's a few things I can do here. The first one by default, because I clicked combine, it's selected as join. So watch what happens when I click this. It is now, turn off that cylinder, it is now one object. Even though it's still called sphere, because it just blurred the naming convention, this is just object. It is now a single object. So if I was to export this or do anything with it, it is now a single object. It no longer recognizes that there was a sphere inside of this. It's just merged it all. I can't now move this object separately. So if I move it, it's going to move the entire thing. If I was like, oh, I wanted that sphere to be further up, I would have to go back and undo that until I've got my two objects again. Undo that path. The other thing that you can do, which is a great point to talk about, is down the bottom here, this is my history. So if I hover over this, you can see it's got, this was my combine step. Further back, I moved it again, I moved it again, I created my sphere, etc. So I can see history. If I was like, oh, I didn't want to combine it, I can just right click and delete that piece of history. And now you can see I've got my cube and I've got my sphere. So that's combining. You click the object, or you don't even have to click the object, but you can. Go to combine, click the other thing you want to merge it with, make sure it's set to join, click OK, and you now have a single object. If instead I wanted to cut an object, so I wanted to cut a bowl shape out of this cube, my sphere is already there. So if I delete the sphere, or cut it out, it'll leave that impression. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back to combine. I'm going to click the box first because that's the thing I want to cut. I change this to the cut setting, and then I'm going to click my circle or my sphere. And you'll see it's gone red. So the red tells you this is the thing that's about to be cut. I've got a fairly transparent view here to sort of show you a sample. And then when I click OK, I've now got my great little half sphere, hemisphere, bowl shape cut out. So that's using the cut tool. You can also use this really well to cut a shape out. So for example, if I had another box, whoops, I just joined it. I don't want that to join, I want that as a new body. And I said, all right, I want to cut a little notch out of my box on the side. I'm going to go to it, use the shortcut M, move it into the box, sorry, the cube, rotate my view and see, I can see the edge of it, but it's buried within the box. Now if I go to combine, click the thing you want to cut first. I'm already on the cut setting, that's great. Click that, okay. Now I've got my little notch. So that is moving, using shortcut, click an object, press M. Combining objects, you just combine tool, click the things you want to combine, and you can either join them or you can cut them. And remember, if you're cutting, the order is important. So you can see now, because I clicked this first, it's cutting the box off of the sphere. So it's going to do a weird thing and leave this tiny little sliver that I didn't want in the first place. So that's your move, cut, combine tool. Now let's talk about extruding. And this is an extremely useful tool that you'll probably use all the time. The extrude tool is basically saying take a side and extend it. So extrude it out, make it longer, distort the dimensions, etc. This is really useful, and you'll see in the next video when we have a sketch. We start with a sketch and then we pull it out of the page to make it a three-dimensional shape. So we can do it through our settings. We can go to create, extrude. Again, a shortcut that's going to save you a lot of time is just remembering the letter E. E for extrude. So far they all make sense. B for box, C for cylinder, M for move, E for extrude. So I extrude, just like before, it's saying select the profile or the face that you want to extrude. So if I click this side face, I've got my common looking arrow and dimensions again. And watch what happens when I click and drag. I'm now making that face bigger. And by default, it's always going to join. You can see over here it's joining, so it's going to merge this to one object. But this can be useful, if I go back, E, if I was like, ooh, I actually don't want this box to be 50 millimeters in this direction, I want it to be 100. So I'll add another 50 to extrude it, and now I would have a 100 millimeter box. The other option is you can do some shortcuts. Rather than creating a second cube, say I wanted 2 cubes and I want to make them different. Rather than going through that whole process of create a cube, add the dimensions in to go 50 by 50 by 50, etc., I could cheat and use the extrude tool and go, well, extrude me another 50 mil cube. Instead of joining it, I want you to make a new body. And you can see there's a little line here. When I click OK, I can see a line showing me that there's 2. And notice on the left here, when I hover, that's the cube. That's the second cube. So I can call this cube 2. I can press M just to move it apart a bit, and I've now got 2 cubes using my extrude tool. I could also use it to join them if they were separated by a gap like this. So I could click this face, extrude, drag into the object, click join. Notice the line vanishes. When I click it, there is no longer a cube. There's just a giant rectangle. So your extrude tool can be really useful for a number of things. You can use it to join objects by bridging gaps. You can use it to clone an object by extruding in a direction like I just did. Extrude by pressing E, 50 mil, new body instead of join, and I've now got 3 cubes. Or I could simply use it to change a dimension. So instead of that being a 50 mil cube, I want it to be 40. So I'll take off 10 in that direction, I'll take off 10 in this direction, and I'll need to take off 10 in that direction. And now I can tell, just by looking at it, it's a much smaller, but specifically that's now a 40 by 40 millimeter cube. So extrude can make things bigger, can join things, can make things smaller. It's a very, very powerful tool.